Good morning.
Good morning, Jew.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm
Good.
Heather Gold in Oakland.
Katie Halper in New York City.
And this is Morning Jew, where we ask the question, is it good for the Jews?
We look at the news, ask if it's good for the Jews. We find the Jewish angle on the headlines, even if it doesn't exist.
Especially if it doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's when we're most needed.
This is our first audio podcast. This has been a video podcast. You can check out Morning Jew on YouTube for some time. And we've decided to move to audio.
This is a historic moment.
Right.
It's like the temple shutting down or whatever, dispersing, and now Morning Jew starting, and then the Morning Jew going to audio.
So this episode was recorded a few weeks ago where you're going to hear about Jerusalem in it, in fact, and a few things, Noses and Transparent, the most Jewish TV show of all time. There's like 52 back episodes, so you're welcome to go check those out. At some point, they'll be available in audio as well.
And we're morningjews.com.
Yeah, and Morning Jew Show on Twitter.
Morning Jew Show on Twitter. Morning Jews with a Z or Z.com on the internets.
Yes.
Okay.
So enjoy. Good morning, Jew.
Good morning, Jew. That was the most Jewy greeting we've ever done. The only thing that could have made that Jewier, because it was so digressive, would have been like talking about, did you lose weight? You look thinner.
Or telling each other what's wrong. Yeah, in a passive-aggressive way. Yeah. We dropped some Yiddish.
Yeah, we did. And we certainly took a long route. In fact, when we edit this, we should totally do fades, like crossfades
to
show.
Good to see you. Okay, what's your most Jewish greeting? Let's see it.
Hello.
I'm opening the door.
All right, opening Pandora's box.
Hi.
Pandora's boxala. Pandora's knish.
I'm here to borrow something. I'm here for dinner.
I'm looking for schmaltz. I need some schmaltz. I ran out of schmaltz. Oi. I'm up the Nile instead of up Schitt's Creek.
Do you want to see? You want to see my most Jewish greeting? Here, you open the door. What do you want?
Oh, that is good. No, here's my. Now you open the door.
Hi, hey, Katie.
Oh no, you knock on the door. Okay.
Katie.
That's me running, getting my jewelry and running because I think you're a
Katie?
Cossack. You're a Cossack.
Are you here? Are you going to the fridge to get your passport in the freezer?
Yes. That's a dumb Jew. That's a Jew who doesn't make it out. Terrible. Too soon.
The stories that we're missing of all the ancestors who are trusting. If you want to know why we're so cynical, we're the ones
and crafty. We survived.
We're the descendants of the ones that made it out.
Exactly.
Imagine all the sweet, trusting, kind, open Jews that used to be.
Exactly. He's not a regular Cossack. He's different. This one,
come on,
Igor's a
nice
good guy.
guy.
I'm gonna let him in. I'm gonna let Igor in. His mother and I shop together at the market. Anyway,
he's not a Nazi. He's my neighbor. He's just,
Hans.
Just Hans.
I
was going for Hans.
That's so funny. It's our DNA, you see.
Could have said Fritz, but Hans.
Yeah.
Hans's.
Well, but our brain was on the Fritz. You're welcome, Dad.
You just.
I'm James Paul Halper's daughter.
You can't miss it. You're like someone playing a video game. It's like the goal is to get the character over here, but there's one thing to pick up over there, and you're not gonna not get that because there's a pun connected to that. You're gonna go all the way over here.
Okay, so let's see. There's so much to talk about. First, there's some breaking news, which is real shocker. Ready for this?
Mm-hmm. I love to be shocked.
And okay, so it turns out there's this discovery in Jerusalem. Jerusalem stone may answer Jewish revolt questions. Israeli archaeologists said Tuesday they have discovered a large stone with Latin engravings that lends credence to the theory that the reason Jews revolted against Roman rule nearly 2,000 years ago was because of their harsh treatment. Did you know that, Heather?
There's an article? They had to write an article.
They had to write an article proving what? That Jews were mistreated by the Romans.
You could pick a Jew who's never been to synagogue in their lives out of Winnipeg, who's 14 years old, and ask them this question. No, they've never read a history book. And you could still ask them that question, like, why do you think Jews revolted against the Romans in ancient Israel? And the answer would be, because they were mistreated?
Yeah, probably, right? Apparently the cause of the...
I'm stunned.
I know. The cause of the Jewish revolt, which resulted in our exile, is disputed. It's unclear whether they rose up independently or were provoked by harsh Roman measures. But okay, so wait, what is the idea that like a bunch of Jews are being treated really well, and they're like, it'd be great, an uprising.
You know what's going to make this better?
Yeah, like I'm either going to have to take a run. I got to take a run, or I got to plan a revolt. One of the two. Okay.
I'm having a little indigestion. I'm having a little trouble with my kishkas.
I'm repeating my food.
What could possibly go wrong? The Romans in Israel. I mean, how many times were the Romans down there? I feel like a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a historian.
Yeah.
They never say Italians. No one ever said that's Rome because, of course, it was just Rome then. But essentially, we need to know.
Italy didn't exist then, yeah.
It's kind of amazing that there's no residual resentment among Jews for Italians. Jews just love, at least in North America, we love Italians. Love them. Yeah. We're like, they're practically us.
It's because the Germans eclipsed them. But what's interesting is that, in World War I, the Jews in America sided with Germany because it's like, Germans eclipsed all the other bad guys, but before the Holocaust, the big bad guys were going full circle on the Cossacks, the big bad guys were Russia. So German Jews actually sided with many of them sided with the German side in World War I.
American Jews in World War I, not World War II.
Yeah. Were they American Jews or Jews internationally? I'm going to have to look that up. But Jews on some level sided with Germany in World War I.
Well, I think Jews who were in Germany were trying to be German, weren't they?
Yeah. And in fact, a lot of them won awards for World War I, like military awards. That's kind of like crosses, iron crosses. Can you imagine a Jew with an iron cross?
Oi!
It's weighing me down, this iron. They had to make it of iron? Couldn't they have made it of gold? If you look in Haaretz, of course, they do a better job. A Roman-era inscription commemorating a visit by Emperor Hadrian has been found in Jerusalem in what archaeologists call one of the most important finds of its kind in the city. The tablet, uncovered during an archaeological dig on land earmarked for a shopping center, is a rare Latin language find and adds to the debate on what caused the Jewish Bar Kokhba revolt in the 2nd century.
I've even heard of Bar Kokhba.
You haven't?
Simon Shimon Bar Kokhba. I mean, we learned about him in Hebrew school.
Well, what's funny is that
I had a terrible Jewish education. So the fact that I've heard of him,
well, you've heard of him.
He must have been a biggie, or I would have never heard of him.
He was a biggie. To Emperor Caesar Trainius, Hadrianus Augustus, son of the deified Trainius Parthicus. Oh, that one, Heather, in case you were wondering. Grandson of the deified Nerva high priest, invested with tribunician power for the 14th time.
Do you think that celebrities are going to bring a name like Parthicus back? Like Parthicus Paltrow, maybe? Although she's converting hardcore to double Judaism, so maybe she'll make Shmuel Paltrow before she makes Parthicus Paltrow.
It's important because there are two opposing views. One, that the revolt erupted following Hadrian's decision to rebuild Jerusalem with a pagan temple at the center. And of course, that view is supported by Roman historian Dio Cassius. You know him. He died in 235 CE. And then,
who doesn't know Dio Cassius?
Right. I'm a huge fan of his work. And then, according to the second view, supported by the historian Eusebius, decades later, the pagan city was built as a punitive measure after the revolt. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Okay, so the question is, did the Jews revolt because there was they were like, are you kidding me? You're building a pagan synagogue or pagan temple? Or was it like
poop on my mother's grave?
Exactly, poo.
Or did they do it after they put down the Jews to be like, and this will teach you how much we've got hosed you. Screw you. We're putting pagan time in the middle of your holy place.
Right. This is reading comprehension with Morning Jew. Ecker notes that the inscription does not include the word colonia, indicating that when Hadrian visited, the city had not yet been completely transformed into a Roman city. Also, the inscription was written by soldiers, not by new residents of the city. So, the inscription attests to the large and impressive public construction in Jerusalem before the emperor's visit, which fell 2 years before the Bar Kokhba result. The rebellion, therefore, would have erupted after the construction work, not before.
Right.
What?
Okay. What they're saying is, I think, this is like putting my brain back into writing an LSAT. I think they're saying because when you read this tile, it shows that it's not that they're not already in charge of the Jews because the workers didn't build it, the soldiers built it, and it doesn't say this is our colony yet, that the building would have gone up before they'd taken over the place.
And the building, does that have to do with, this is the temple?
It has to do with the pagan temple that they built. Because I guess they're saying this is a stone from it. This is my guess from maybe bad understanding from what you were reading. So in that case, because they hadn't already taken everything over, it looks more like less like I'm pissing on your grave after the fact, more like I'm pissing on your grave before the fact. It looks a little more like this is why everybody got pissed off, and less like it was a punishment. So maybe this is why this is more proof of this is why the Bar Kokhba revolt happened. Look at me, I can bullshit. Can you see this is the kind of skill set that made me get decent grades in university?
This is also
useless for the rest of life. Other than this,
but when it comes to analyzing Roman stones,
I sound plausible. Do I actually know what I'm talking about?
No,
absolutely not. I know.
And you know what you just did? You answered. You made a statement by asking a question. Do I know what I'm talking about? No. Do I sound plausible? Yes. And I want to say something, Heather. That's so great and so Jewish. And the way that I'm looking, okay, this is also a great metaphor. Yahoo News has a totally incomplete, unsophisticated, barely any argument made article on it.
What about Yahweh News? How's that?
Yahweh News, which I'm going to call the Jewish Times, and Haaretz, have very intricate Baroque ones that don't say anything clearly. And in fact, this is how the Jewish Times article ends. Ready? It ends with a quote. There is no doubt that the discovery of this inscription will contribute greatly to the long-standing question about the reasons that led to the outbreak of the Bar Kokhba revolt. How Jewish is that? Like, you're not telling us how. How does it contribute? What's the takeaway? We don't know, but what we do know is that it has been added.
Also, it will contribute greatly.
It will contribute greatly to the debate. It's like we don't want to say goodbye to a debate.
That's like after you get a bar mitzvah gift. Thank you for contributing greatly to my college fund. But
at least, to my struggle for something open-ended. It's so funny. These Jews, even like these people, these archaeology experts, they're basically like, we made a big discovery, and it is,
and it means
it's a chicken and egg debate.
Not much,
which came
but
first.
It's a big thing for not being definitive.
Yeah, Jews. It's like I'm suspicious about this story. We're going to have to come back to it because I don't know why they're not coming out and being like...
Why is this intriguing you so much, this
because
story? Why
there's like a cover-up. The media is not telling us the answer. And I don't think it's just that we're too dumb to understand it.
What if they just don't know? I'm a much bigger fan of people not getting stuff or not knowing more than of actively...
because they say that it supports one thing, but no one is tying... Are they trying to challenge us? Like, is this like a rabbinical tract? Look, it says, Latin inscriptions recently unearthed in Jerusalem completes a century-old puzzle that may put to rest a historical dispute that began in Roman times, but it doesn't explain how it does. Anyway, I don't even know.
We have a short taping time today, but the story that has got Katie the most whipped up.
Hot. It gives me, I'm getting agita.
Like, and in those days, you had to get a fucking chisel and a hammer, to write this. This is not a thing where you're like, wait, let me make a note.
Right.
Okay. Just a
moment. Let me type this up. Yeah. Let me tweet this.
That's tweeting. It's an old tweet.
Jesus Christ. All right. So I don't even know. You know what? This is how I'm going to come down on this very appropriately. Is this good for the Jews? It contributes in a very significant way to the Jews.
Does this explain our answers every week when we try to be definitive? In my effort to change our habits, and try to be not Jewish, I'm going to say it's bad for the Jews.
All right.
I have no reason. Cool. I just want to be definitive. Yeah, it's interesting that if they're good, they're qualified in the most complex way. Maybe in this case it could be, but maybe not in that case.
Cognizant of the fact that.
But if it's bad for us, we're like we almost are Germans. We're like, here it is. It's just what it is.
We are very Baroque.
We're qualified optimistically Rococo. We're negatively clear as hell.
Right. Unequivocally negative.
But just for us.
Unequivocally negative.
Only for us. Right. I don't know if Jews are sure that about climate change. Are we that clear? Like it's terrible and it's going to do us in?
We should be.
I think we have even a little bit more Like if it's not just about us, there's some hope. There's a way that something could change. If it were just about Jews, we'd be sure.
Right. The end is near.
It would be tomorrow.
That's why these Christian Zionists work well with the Jews, because the Jews don't believe in the rapture, but I think they like their commitment to the fear and the doom. Even though the rapture is a good thing, but they're probably like, that's crazy. It's not a good thing.
We don't relate to the whole, there's Jesus coming back and the hot horseman, the apocalypse and the bodies rising. All of that, we're like, whatever. They're Meshuggah and Gentiles. Right. But the part where they're sure the shit's hitting the fan.
Exactly. We love it.
It gives them a little bit of reasonableness to us.
Look, I mean, they are a goyim, but there's something we share without, it's not just Jews going back to Israel.
Even a guy doing a magic act, whatever.
Right.
Fine. At the end of the day, they're willing to let us keep our chunk of land so we don't die.
Right. Exactly. It's by Kristen Hanley. I got a nose job as a teen. I thought I wanted a prettier nose, but my idea of pretty was burdened by hundreds of years of history.
Ooh, written like someone with a Gentile last name. Okay. Now here's the thing. Medium now, like BuzzFeed, is, I guess, running the business model of the web of shareability, which is you want something very narrow and specific to a group because then people relate to it. Like 8 songs that show you were a child in 1976. Right. And I think
someone named Katie will understand, for instance.
Possibly. And this is
I saw that one. I didn't understand it.
And Jewish noses haven't been talked about in a while because what happens is Jews just all went and got nose jobs or intermarried enough to get rid of the issue for the most part. It's not been a big we've just sort of like lost the battle. Like the idea that you would be publicly Jewish, and let's be fair, Jewish noses are mostly an issue for women. Not for men.
Right.
Because we've just decided that that's a masculine thing in a certain way. Because Jewish men have accomplished enough publicly around becoming sort of masculine enough or American enough that they're not as freaked out by what their nose looks like.
I think that there's probably something not just Jewish about that. There's a more gendered thing there too with what's scary is there are probably some evolutionary reasons that it's considered feminine versus masculine. Like stuff with women, it's attractive to have big eyes, and that's because you probably look younger or a baby, and I don't know. I know. For feminists, I don't totally reject every biological connection to things. But, it's interesting because, the Jewish stars, in fact, this is why we said this about Chelsea Handler. She's successful, good for the Jews, but she looks like a total shiksa. So how much does that help?
Of a Mormon, and you can see that what she looks like, and that's definitely. I mean, if you want to look at Joan Rivers,
isn't she Mormon? Isn't she Mormon? Yeah. Nazi and Jewish.
Yeah, she's an amazing.
She's literally Nazi, right? Like the offspring of Nazis.
Like you kind of have to be a comic, I think, if that's what
right.
happens.
Exactly.
I mean, Joan Rivers' career, if you look at her era and all the plastic surgery, those things go together. The sort of what you look like, what's tolerable to look like as a woman, and what makes you represent Jewishness is nothing more than, that kind of a nose or so-called masculinized,
Or you're like Barbara Streisand and Bette Midler, where you're not really considered attractive, except for...
Well, that was sort of made Barbara Streisand this big breakthrough, right? Like she, in fact, posed on Playboy, like her, for her, it's always the profile. It was a big deal. And
to embrace her schnoz in the profile. Is that what you mean?
I mean, she played Fanny Bryce in Funny Girl. Right? The great, the big vehicle that made her super famous. And Fanny Bryce, who was a huge star in the 1920s on stage, and had a big following, and there was lots of racial songs then were also about being Irish and Jewish and all this stuff, all these immigrant songs. And Fanny Bryce did have a nose job and spawned Dorothy Parker's famous line that she cut off her nose to spite her race.
Oh, I never heard that. That's great, Dorothy. Thank you, Dorothy.
Yeah. So
easy for a Gentile to say.
If you want to track the history of women in comedy, the nose is a big, but if you want to go Fanny Bryce, Dorothy Parker, Streisand, Midler, then some other Jews, Joan Rivers, you're talking nose. Jewish nose is an issue all the way through all of that. This piece is interesting to me. She writes about getting a nose job, and I'm not sure at the end of the day how she totally feels about it, but she does
Jewish. She does
a lot of historical stuff about who invented the nose job. What I didn't know, and what's interesting about it, but it's not surprising, is that it's some German Jewish guy who becomes an orthopedic surgeon. He decides to create the nose job to fix this terrible, they come up with a medicalized term for it. The thing that you suffer, I forget. You have to look at that.
Not deviated septum, which is like today.
No,
deviated
now
septum,
that's our
basically.
medical. Like, here's what.
Right.
First of all, he changes his name, very common, to try to make him sound less Jewish. So he tries to butch himself up. He turns his name to Jacques instead of Jacob. Jacob K-O-B.
Jacques is not so butch. I mean, but it's
relatively speaking at the time, it certainly is. And he was in one of those dueling fraternities they used to have in Germany where you slash the face, you get a face,
I didn't know it. Yeah.
I guess I used to fence. I learned about it from that. And
so you said I used to fantasize about it. Joseph. No, his name was Joseph.
And he does these plastic surgeries. He does ear reshaping and nose reshaping to help people avoid bullying. So he's part of this sort of shame assimilation through surgery, which, you know that he lost his job because after reshaping the ears, this is a great metaphor. He lost his job after reshaping the ears of a boy too bullied to attend school. Right. So
what a metaphor for Jews. A boy too bullied to attend school because of his ears. That's Jews.
So our solution is we're going to need to fix our ears.
Right.
It's my problem.
Which is interesting because it's like, I'm a little conflicted about this. Part of me is like, look, obviously the solution is not, I am. You're conflicted. The solution is not to, in an ideal world, right? We ameliorate the bullying, right? We get rid of bullying, right? I don't judge people though who have nose jobs or boob jobs, even though I'd like to think I would have the strength, the wherewithal, no, I don't even know if I'd say that. I don't judge people who do those things. I would like to live in a world where there isn't the need to, but I understand, like, until the revolution comes, I understand the pressure.
I understand the pressure. I don't know. I have a feeling it doesn't satisfy.
Right.
I
Maybe
don't know
that would be interesting to look at people's lives.
I haven't done surgery, so, I mean,
right.
my aunt had a nose job.
How'd it look?
The sister of the orthopedic surgeon. I mean, I only knew her afterwards. I didn't know her before. And the family line was always, you should have, God, turn it.
Right.
Like,
would that you would have seen her.
Miskite, like the whole
miskite,
kind of.
that means ugly in Yiddish.
The whole kind, but it's a very, I want to say racialized, self-loathing thing because I don't see Jews ever refer to someone who's not Jewish as miskite. It tends to be thrown at themselves, at Jews, and often at girls. It's not usually, that boy's so never. I'm not saying I'm some expert on Jews.
Right.
Somebody else's grandpa more Yiddish than I have, maybe. But my sense is it's a way in which we have failed. And one of the ways we fail as Jewish women is we don't look like a good Gentile woman should.
Right.
Because what is pretty? Gentile.
Right.
What we are is not supposedly pretty. And not to me. I'm very attracted to Jewish women. And
she is. You've heard it here before. I like this girl's nose. The thing is that I actually think I'm going to be fair.
Nose?
No, I like her pre-nose, but I'm going to say something also
okay, go ahead.
That I have very good nose job dar. I'm going to say two things. One, having gone to school with a lot of people who had nose jobs, high school. She has a pretty good nose job. If I had seen this nose job, I wouldn't have diagnosed it as post-nose job. But I'm also going to say, I think she looks a little bit better, like Jennifer Grey, who we've talked about before. Oh. I like her. She's you can barely see it, but it just looks a little beaky. I don't even
think Jennifer Grey looks better after her nose job.
No, she looks better pre. I don't
know if you can see my wall back there, but there's an album.
Yeah, I see an album,
Jennifer Grey's grandfather.
Oh, Joel Grey, right. Who had a terrible schnoz job also.
Grandfather, not father.
Oh, not Joel. Joel was the father. Okay.
Joel Grey from Cabaret is the father.
Schnoz job. Also.
Grandfather, who also could be accused of being feminine, right? Jewish male feminine. Mickey Katz, he was a klezmer musician and funny, comic, really, musician.
Really? That sounded so waiting for Guffman. You just sounded like Eugene Levy.
Listen, Bobby
made a comic,
kishka,
really.
A kishka.
Made it nice and sweet. Hot. Made it nice and hot. My Bobby's better than that. Oh, no, I can't do that. Oh, mamma mia. Oh, mamma mia. Oh, dreidel.
Yeah, you're mixing them up.
We got to talk next time about
waiting for Guffman. Okay, so part of this piece, I'm going to read a little bit more of Kristen Handler's piece. The history of anti-Semitism piggybacks on the history of anti-blackness. It's an interesting, I don't know. I'd like to think anti-Semitism's pretty old. I don't know that it just piggybacks. You're talking at least 1,000 years in Germany. So maybe.
I think she means the most recent round of it, the most recent wave.
She says the history of. I don't know. I mean, I think you're talking Germans. You're talking.
Does she have an editor, by the way?
It's fucking Medium. I don't know.
No, she probably didn't.
It's an open platform. Do you think she has an editor that's an historian? No,
but that's a pretty bold statement to make. The history of anti-Semitism piggybacks. Also, you're making a really big statement about history, and you're going to use piggyback. I just think you're setting yourself up.
Listen, the clickbait of this thing already worked. Yeah. You and me, Jews, are already looking at this thing and talking about noses.
We're looking at it like an accident on the side of the road.
Do you have an unresolved feeling about something? Here's a think piece.
Right.
Have some more unresolved, because talking about it's not going to resolve your feelings. And some of that, Jews were long considered ugly or subhuman. First by others and then by ourselves. And some of that feeling was deliberately attached to the traits they shared with people of African ancestry. This is a bit interesting.
No, we both are accused of having ugly noses, but in very different ways.
They had dark skin, curly hair, non-Aryan noses. By the late 19th century, when Jews had been in Europe for long enough to shed their Middle Eastern skin tone, I don't know about that. I think I'm going to quote our recent guest, Lisa Brown. Thanks for the blue eyes.
Funnily enough.
Thanks for the blue eyes, Cossacks.
Yes.
I don't know if it's, what do you mean? We hang out in Europe and then you shed what we look like? I don't know how much that's a lot of years of rape. I don't know about that.
I think that's what she means.
I don't know. Yes, I don't know if it's just rape. I don't know if it's just intermarriage. I don't know if it's just evolution over time. I have no idea. I'm going to go with mix. But I don't think it's just
no pun intended.
You live in France for what? Like all of a sudden 1900s our skin got lighter? If you read books written and novels written around then, they'll refer to Jews as Oriental sometimes and yellow looking. I mean, there's a lot of racialized, let's talk about Jews like they're not white. I mean, up until
I miss those days.
Sterling's young days, yes. To shed their Middle Eastern skin tone, the most visible marker of Jewish difference became the Semitic nose. Hatred and fear sought physical traits to reflect the ugliness that was presupposed. Well, I don't know if this is totally right, but it's a big thing for sure, and for sure it has to do with being too masculine, which is what the doctor says to her when she goes for her appointment, and it's her mother who says, "I've already saved up for you to have this appointment," and I promise you, if I'd gotten my father's nose, they would have for sure wanted me.
You, Heather, are saying this, yeah.
I would be stunned if my parents, my mother in particular, didn't want for my own good me to have.
But you have, I feel like you have a very your nose is like as, how do I say this? It's like as, it's the acceptable size and shape. It's like as Jewy as you can get without being too Jewy. It's like, it fits in there's like a hint of Jewishness about it, but it fits.
There's no question that, in my opinion, that like my mom, who's considered traditionally beautiful, who looks a little Linda Evansy, little 80s reference, is blonde and blue-eyed, which, was part of how her dad was known as being blonde when he had hair, because it was unusual around other Jews. And I'm sure that's part of the whole, my dad, I always joke, he got the Jewish male fantasy of his era. He got kind of double time. He got someone who was Jewish who just didn't look Jewish.
Right. I understand, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's like such a male thing. It's like the vagina. The Madonna virgin dichotomy, right? The Madonna whore dichotomy. It's like
that's
men
a Christian
who say...
thing, the Madonna whore
No, right, of course. But this is like... It's a Christian thing, but to some extent, it exists. Like we said on Morning Jew,
Madonna horror complex.
We don't have it like
problems.
We do. But I think women writ large have it a little bit. Like even
I think Jewish women don't have it as much. I don't think Jewish women have as much of a deal.
Slut shame, like they don't have slut shame.
We don't have it the same way.
It's not as much, but there's something.
I don't know about women of color, but if you're real Catholic, I imagine it gets through.
I still think men view women, and to some extent, we're on the receiving end of this, whether or not we like it, even whether or not we're into men. Like their gaze has shaped us, blah 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 blah, right? But like, I still think that there's like two camps.
By the way,
there's like the
Katie
woman.
Halper doing women's studies 101 in a minute.
Okay, yeah. 30 So there's still.
That's how we're whatever.
Women's studies 101. Just throw in the male gaze, and you've learned it. And I think that women are still thrown into two camps, like the girl you will sleep with. It's changed a little bit, but the girl you sleep with, the girl you marry. That's why traditionally women, even Jewish women, will be like, don't sleep with him on the first date.
This is where the phrase "shiksas are for practice" comes from.
Interesting. But guys, they always say that they don't like women wearing makeup. They don't like women playing hard to get. They actually do like women playing hard to get. They don't like thinking that they are playing hard to get. They actually do like women wearing makeup. They don't like them looking like they're wearing makeup. It's they actually do want a girl who's Jewish, but they don't want, Jewish guys do, but they don't want her looking like she's Jewish.
I don't know. I can't speak. Well, I guess I can other times about women.
I know we are so reluctant to speak in generalizations or for others about things we
know nothing about. Yeah. I mean, why would we do that? I don't know. I mean, I think Jewish men have a whole feminization history thing. Yeah, that if you want to go read some literature by asshole Jewish male brilliant writers like Norman Mailer, it's right there. There's a whole generation of literature that's nothing but that. And the fastest way for them to be considered American or tough or butch it up is to get a Gentile supportive woman, and that's not going to be too strong a woman, so she's going to be blonde. I mean, the comment, I married someone Jewish and then it didn't work out, and then my second wife isn't. There's a whole generation from Steven Spielberg and Billy Joel. I mean, name a celebrity from that generation and before, and that's what you're going to see. You're going to be like, I tried to do what my family wanted me to do.
Totally true.
I married someone who's like my mom in some way. I'm miserable. Get me someone who makes me feel good. Howard Stern. Like, they're all got a second wife who's blonde and younger. And
we should remix that song. If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, get to make a Gentile woman your wife. But from my personal point of view, get a nice shiksa to marry you. Whatever. Anyway,
that's it's from it's just it's a generic thing. This idea that you're gonna still. I mean, they want this kind of worshipful. Tell me I'm great. Don't have too strong an opinion.
Right.
Or at least don't.
They want us. They really want a Heather or a Katie is what they want. They're looking for a Heather or a Katie.
Some are usually.
I'm kidding. That's
I will say, like I say in my show Cookie, like when I got to college, I discovered I was very attractive to
black men
and lesbians, because that's who was hitting on me.
But because of your personality or because of your big shtetl booty?
Could be because of the boobs, the booty, the person, the loud mouth. I don't know.
Boobs are transcultural, though. Let's be honest. Big boobs, everyone loves them.
Everyone loves big boobs?
I would say so, yeah.
Somebody doesn't. It's a big
No, some guys, especially hipsters. No, but I think that in general, actually Brazilians don't, but that's a weird thing. Anyway, so is this good or bad for the Jews? Because we want to do another show.
The idea that you get a nose job?
Yeah.
Bad. I'm going to go with absolutely, completely bad.
Because if we embraced it, we would change the norms. Yeah, we need a Jew is beautiful, like a black is beautiful. Well, and I'm not comparing.
What we have famous Jewish women who are considered beautiful, and they're considered beautiful to the degree to which they mostly don't look Jewish. That's like exactly
Natalie
Scarlett
Portman.
Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson. She's the most probably, because Natalie Portman she's not the antithesis of a Jewish look, but she doesn't have a schnoz or anything.
It's always like when you say, as if you've watched a lot of Morning Jews in the past, oh, I didn't know they were Jewish. What you're saying is, you look attractive.
Right.
Maybe.
Who are the Jewish actors, famous Jewish actors out there, actresses?
Male actors? We could name lots.
No, female.
Well, I don't know. I mean, ironically, I guess which we'll talk about in a minute, Transparent. She's not Jewish, but Catherine Hahn kind of looks Jewish enough, which is part of,
which one's
Jill
that?
Soloway casting her in Afternoon Delight. She plays the rabbi in Transparent.
I haven't seen that yet.
She's not Jewish, actually Jewish. Who looks Jewish?
Yeah, who's Jewish? No, forget that. Who's Jewish? Who's a romantic lead? I think Natalie Portman and Scarlett Johansson are kind of unique in that, right? Because who are the romantic leading ladies, hot women who are Jewish?
It's pretty tough. Good luck.
You know what's interesting is that I think actually there's more of a Latina women have like been able to make, and it's problematic, but in itself for different reasons. But there's definitely some guys are like, I like Jewish girls. This Italian guy said to me the other day, but he doesn't mean. I think he meant personality. Like the aesthetic of Latina women, I feel like has been much more introduced to Hollywood.
I feel like, I don't know, so I'd have to hear from people in Latina culture, African-American culture, but I feel like there's been some effort, at least from what comes through to mainstream culture that I've seen, to sort of own where you come from. Maybe it doesn't hit everybody, and there's plenty of other self-loathing issues because you're dealing with the racist culture you live in, but there's some movement within it of loving what you look like. Jewish culture, for whatever other kind of so-called success we've had, hasn't done that. There has not been, there was maybe in the 70s a tiny moment of it, of general ethnic pride, but there's not a lot of, hey, we think it's great to look beautiful, to look like us. Right. I think we missed that 100%.
Well, and the Israeli models, there's all the stuff about Israeli models being blonde hair, blue-eyed. But the other complicated thing, and this in all fairness, I think should be acknowledged, is that it's a little bit more complicated when you're Jewish because we are white recently, right? As of like a couple generations.
But these two things are mixed together. Only to the degree to which you don't look Jewish.
But all I'm saying is that saying I have ethnic pride when you're Jewish is different than saying I have ethnic pride when you're Black or Latina.
So then I think when you're talking about what you look like, I don't think it's so different.
Well, I think that people would say to lots of Jews if they heard that, like, really? Because you have to do the work to separate yourself from a white pride thing. Whether or not you think that we need to. I think to non-Jews, that's what it would sound like.
No, I'm talking about what it means to be comfortable with the parts of you that aren't supported by mainstream culture, that are going to be the things that mark you as different and so-called not part of the traditional beauty standard, about being big, about being zaftig, about having hair, body hair, about what your nose looks like, your hair looks like, all that stuff, which frankly are more features that are in common. We talked about this in our plus-size shuttle booty episode. So I think it's kind of pretty much in pretty similar allegiance because they're not always such different issues. I mean, it depends if you're on your ethnicity, if you're Southeast Asian. I don't think... I think we've gone backwards. I think this is a place where feminism generally had some issues, and I think Jewish women have kind of missed out on it. Like the fact that you and I can't name. I mean, name me. Who's the Jewish Halle Berry?
Well, that's kind of what I was saying with the. Who? But of course, in all fairness, though, it's very easy to say, yeah, Halle Berry is biracial. Like, of course, the standard of Black beauty in Hollywood is a woman.
She looks more Black than Scarlett Johansson, and she owns it more than Scarlett Johansson looks Jewish.
Yeah, but that's because of our fucked up, like, one drop law, historically. I think this is a pretty, I don't think it's that easy to say.
That's true.
Yeah. So I think that, and there were lots of people who would say to a white person she looks more Black than a white Jewish person she looks more Black than Scarlett Johansson looks Jewish.
I'm going to say Leah Michele, who's certainly not in any movies, is sort of the Jewiest looking
and she's half Jewish, as we've brought to you before.
And she's sort of doing this, I'm a character but she's playing a character who's Jewish and who's into Streisand. And it's the closest thing I can come up with.
I'm just doing a quick thing, Jewish actors, and then we'll go to our actresses. Okay, Eric Bana, for instance, just to give credence to the idea that men have it better. Eric Bana, to me, is so good looking.
Who is this?
He was in Munich, and he's Jewish.
We have no problem with what looking Jewish as a man is to be attractive. That's
I know,
long
but
changed.
As proof, Eric Bana, we need to provide our audiences with the evidence. That's our responsibility. Eric Bana is so good looking to me that I still don't know if I liked Munich because it was a great movie that moved me, or if I was just moved by his looks. Kate Hudson is half Jewish.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
No, Kate Hudson isn't half. She's less because Goldie Hawn, her mom, is half.
Yeah, you're right. Scarlett Johansson. I'm looking for a Jew. Amanda Bynes.
Which you love that, it's at the tip of my fingers.
Yeah, I know. You have the fucking Excel sheet with the percentages. Amanda Peet. Amanda Peet looks Jewish.
Who's Amanda Peet?
Exactly, right? Rosanna Arquette, Rosanna.
You know who looks Jewish? Roseanne
Gina
Barr.
Gershon.
She's Jewish.
Gina Gershon.
It's hot. Is she Jewish?
Yes, Gershon, and in fact, she's very Jewish looking.
No, she could be more Jewy looking.
Italian. I think she's pretty Jewish looking. But
somebody who looks, who looked Jewish? Jennifer Grey, pre-nose job, looked really Jewish and really
Deborah
hot.
Winger. Deborah Winger,
gorgeous. How about
that's our closest one. Deborah Winger was considered. I think she wouldn't be around I think in the 80s and 70s she was. I think she's gorgeous. I'm just saying her look was...
The woman who plays Marion in Indiana Jones isn't quite Jewish, but could look Jewish a little bit.
Rachel Weisz looks Jewish.
Yeah. What about Rachel, the other Rachel? What's her name?
Olivia Newton-John is Jewish? Oh my God, Heather, we need to...
No, there is no way in a million years she's Jewish.
It says here, but I'm going to have to look it up. Paula Abdul.
Paula Abdul's a little bit Jewish.
Lauren Bacall.
Betty Persky.
But she's a curveball because her things are beauty are all over the place because she has a very masculine thing too.
I think we did a show on her too. I think she was a mix. No, to stay really contemporary.
No, she wasn't a mix. She was full Jewish.
Juliana Margulies. Okay.
I just want to say that Lauren
Juliana
Bacall
Margulies Jewish? Because she looks
looking.
like she could look Jewish to me.
Jennifer Connelly, but she's mixed. Her mother's Jewish.
Give
Deborah
me
Messing,
someone-
very Jewish looking, but
Maybe
not
the most.
considered. Maybe the most. We may have found.
Maybe.
I think we found
Maybe.
Winona Ryder.
Oh, yeah, Winona Ryder.
Both sides Jewish,
Yeah.
but not very Jewish looking.
That's why that she has
Right.
but
Yeah, we need to
a
do-
bit more Jewish than maybe
Marlee Matlin, pretty Jewish looking.
I don't think she's Jewish.
She is,
Oh, really?
according to this. Well,
Who knows? It takes some time. Look,
we're going to have to do an in-depth
what I'm saying is,
thing
if we
on
want
this.
to mention men who are considered attractive and are Jewish, it's going to be a piece of cake because
Right.
not only did that happen, and this is kind of what I always want to say to, in terms of film. If you want to talk about representation of what it is to look attractive, that Hollywood builds stuff, there's a tremendous amount of self-loathing. This is what's
Right.
not, I think, understood by lots of people who want to criticize Hollywood.
Right.
Hollywood for a long time wouldn't put anything Jewish in a movie. That's changed in the last couple decades.
Right. We were just behind.
But certainly
Yeah.
isn't going to put a woman that looks Jewish in a from the most part. It's pretty tough. We got Streisand, but for the most part, it's not been a walk in the park. So it's
Julia
not
Louis-Dreyfus
Not
looks pretty
Jewish.
Jewish. Yes, she is.
she's not Jewish.
No, she is.
Not. In fact, they did an episode and she plays Elaine. Her character is a shiksa in. There's a
Yeah,
whole
but in
episode
real
about it.
life, she's not.
I think she's not Jewish. Entirely Jewish.
All right, we're going to have to do it. We have to prepare for this more because we have to be responsible morning journalists.
So, what do you think about nose jobs? Good for the Jews, bad for the Jews?
No, bad for the Jews, bad for everyone, bad for women in general. We need to have a united front because then we'll challenge the beauty norm too.
Well, there's no way you're going to learn to eroticize something you can't see or that people are walking around loathing about themselves.
Right. Right.
You have to
right.
we have to celebrate everybody as they are.
Celebrate diversity. Celebrate good times. All right.
Which
I
is
have to cut to
contributing
the Michael.
greatly.
Yes, we're contributing greatly. We have to show the shot of the clip of Michael from The Office doing that. Okay, next story.
Okay.
Last one.
So I thought we would talk a little bit about the show Transparent, which is on Amazon Prime and made by Jill Soloway. It's not on traditional TV, but it's a television series. There are 10 episodes, half-hour episodes. It's shot like a feature, like a long feature, done in half-hour segments. And Katie's halfway through. I've seen the whole thing. So we're going to do other episodes, and we're hoping to eventually, knock on wood, bring you some other special episodes on it. I feel there's lots written about it already online. I feel very comfortable saying this is the Jewiest show ever made in the history of television by leaps and bounds. And if for no other reason, it deserves multiple Morning Jew conversations.
Right. In fact, every Morning Jew episode, we're going to have a little bit we're going to do a reenactment of one of the scenes. Transparent is great. It is only through willpower that I haven't sat through and watched the entire thing.
Really? So you are liking it?
Oh, I loved it from the beginning. I have little issues with it, which we can talk about later, but I liked it from the beginning. It's a little bit, my friend Amelia said that she thought it was a little bit annoyingly Miranda July-ish, which I kind of understand what she means.
Say a little bit more. Also, by the way, Jewish.
A Jew, we put her on. Precious and...
I think of that preciousness as not Jewish. It's so funny. I think of that as...
But isn't Miranda July-ish?
She is, but I think of that as a very, Gentile graphic designer living in Portland thing.
Right. But it's pretty great and very queer.
I feel like it's a little bit more willing to be, dark. I don't know. I guess Miranda July can be dark, but her stuff is so pristine. I think this is willing to be messy in a way.
Messy, yeah.
That I love.
Jeffrey Tambor is amazing.
Extraordinary.
And I have to say, I'm surprised that he's not. I thought he would look like a really ugly woman, and I'm surprised by.
Well, this is a wonderful way to connect to our nose conversation. Part of what is beautiful and amazing about Jeffrey Tambor's performance as a trans woman who's a kind of core part of the show and the parent in the show is of the family is they do a beautiful job of showing Mora's comfort with herself the more she's able to be in who she really is. And you can see beauty really clearly in that process. It's a very internal thing. And because you're talking about transition and openness and kind of a coming out.
Owning.
it's a visualized, acted out process in the show. It's very powerful. And that's the kind of thing I think we need around all kinds of stuff about our bodies and ourselves. And also part of the beauty of having someone in transition early as opposed to very far along the line who isn't, because you'll see this with trans women too, the kind of sexism of, here's what beauty is. And if you look pretty enough, well, you're a great woman. You know, so, you're so amazing. I want to.
Or the opposite, right? Like if you're a butch enough man, trans
and then a lot of affirming the gender of someone who's trans based on how much they fit into really sexist ideas of gender. And so I think this is really similar with the kind of Jewish piece of it. And part of what I love about Transparent is I don't think I've ever seen anything own Jewishness on the level. Especially around appearance.
But it's very organic because it's not like I'm going to go out on a pedestal at all. And one of the funniest lines in the show, because we don't want to give it away to anyone, but one of the funniest lines is when they're all having dinner, they're eating barbecue, they're remarking on how sloppy they are with their barbecue. And the father at this point...
the swish pan shot is everyone's face.
Yeah, everyone's smushed. And the father at one point, he's still known to his kids as a father, says, that's because you come from shtetl people. Your grandma Rose ate lettuce with her bare hands, which made me lol. Very, very funny. And also, interestingly, is Tambor Jewish? Jeffrey Tambor? He's Jewish. Gabby Hoffman's obviously Jewish.
Spent a little time with the Scientologists.
Ooh, I'll forgive him. Okay, good. He redeemed himself. What's his name? Duplass. Duplass, I love his films. He's a director, writer with his brother. Totally passes as a Jew, isn't Jewish. And what about Allison, whatever?
Gabby Hoffman,
the older daughter. No, the older daughter.
Amy Landecker?
Amy, thank you.
I don't know. I haven't checked her out.
I'm sure you've checked her out, just not like that.
No, I didn't.
Not your type?
Check her out that way.
She's not your type at all?
Not so much.
Too goyish looking? She's kind of, I feel like she has that goofy Jew, she's a goofy Jew look to her. And I don't mean that in an anti-Semitic way. I mean like every culture has a goofy, totally has the Maggie Gyllenhaal, goofy attractive at the same time.
I find Maggie Gyllenhaal incredibly hot, and I don't think she rises to the, but that doesn't, she has, I'm sure, her own, it's just my subjective, what I'm into. Yeah, Maggie Gyllenhaal's smoking.
Interesting. That's an interesting look too. Yeah, it's great. I thought that we're going to have to talk about this more, but I thought that the two black characters were a little bit, I said caricatures, then Rebecca Carroll said she thought that they were maybe one-dimensional, but not caricatures.
She said, what else did Rebecca Carroll say? We had a little conversation.
She said that they were nuanced.
And something else. We had a conversation on Facebook where Katie was like...
Well, I stopped reading it because I didn't want to...
I like this show, except...
the black actors.
3 things. I didn't like her eyebrows are unrealistic. I think the black characters are caricature. Well, you didn't say caricatures.
I said they aren't characters.
And something else said.
And that he wore boots. The physical trainer wears boots.
And what
no
I'm
physical
saying
trainer would ever wear boots.
I haven't seen the whole thing.
That's true.
But also, you should save what Rebecca Carroll said, which I couldn't agree with more, because it's sort of the point. And we'll get more into it when you've seen more of the show about that scene. With these characters, there's only couple scenes that they're in.
Did you like my point about, I'm trying to talk about this without giving away, and then we have to wrap up. But there's a potential sexual scene that happens that gets cut off. And Rebecca used this to argue about why it's a more nuanced development, which I agreed with at first, because I'm not going to give it away, but there's a potential sexual thing and the two and certain black characters stop it from happening. And at first I was like, oh, good, they're not doing the whole hypersexualized black male thing. But then I realized, like, the reason they stop it is because someone says something that kind of casts it as a homoerotic thing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's not like, they're not challenging that stereotype anymore. Because, like, the black hypersexualized guy not wanting to do anything gay isn't...
Well, I think even just what you said already shows there's a couple layers you can read there, and I think there's another one that both Rebecca and I were starting to discuss, and even a couple more that are there that I personally think you can see by episode 4 that you're not...
You're like, I'm pretty disappointed, Katie.
Sort of talking about. And maybe it's even more clear when you see more. There'll be even more. I mean, part of what I love about this show is it's so layered, and it's a very beautiful kind of undoing of layers of the family dynamic. Like, if you're in a Jewish family dynamic, and maybe this is true of all family dynamics, I just know Jewish ones, this is an incredible showing and not pulling apart in a dogmatically analytic way, which is part of why it's beautiful art. It's real showing of those layers and pieces. And you think this about one person and have they changed, it affects the other one. All that stuff's there. And even this one scene with these two characters and this one sexual, proposed sexual moment, you'll see a bunch of layers. And for me, even in that conversation with you, made me see something else about it going, oh, I have this other idea about it.
So meta. I have to go, so I'm going to have to cut it off, even though whatever. No, we'll go back to this.
Anyway, Transparent's right. You guys, why don't you watch it? And then we'll, maybe even send us some video conversations about what you think about that scene.
Tweet at us.
On it. Do you think it's racist? Do you think it's unconsciously racist or consciously racist? Other stuff about it. Right. And some of the your favorite Jewy moments of the
so good for the Jews, Transparent. I'm going to say good for everyone, including the Jews.
Yeah, I think it's extraordinary television. It's incredibly queer television, and
very queer.
It's thrilling. It's thrilling. Show.
Thrilling. I'm getting verklempt just talking about it. All right, I will.
It's a show where they would get verklempt, say verklempt in context correctly.
Exactly, not like kvetching. What? Okay, just little PSA. It's not. Kvetching has 2 syllables, not 3. It's not kvetching, it's kvetching.
This is a good thing. We should put one in every show.
We should. How to pronounce a Yiddish word. Yeah, kvetching.
If you want to, like...
It's going to be called just the tip, which I like to use that term as much as I can. For some reason, I think it lends itself wonderfully.
It's Katie's circumcision phrase.
Actually, it's the male trying to get his circumcised or uncircumcised penis into a woman. I don't know if you've encountered this.
I'm about post.
I know that, but you know the term just the tip? It's a very seductive.
Katie,
it's a great.
What kind of presumption do you think I can live in the heterosexual world I live in without?
I didn't know. I feel like I don't know when I knew. No one's ever tried that on me.
You think I'm a gold star?
No one's ever tried that on me.
You don't even know what that is. You don't even.
Yeah, I know what a gold star is. I know. I can't believe you just outed yourself. Wow, you're really comfortable with your sexuality. Good for you.
I am. What's there not to be comfortable about?
You're bronze. I'm going to call you a bronzed. There should be a number, like a ratio at which you're. How many gold star women have you dated? Have you dated any gold star?
I want you to evaluate heterosexual women for me on that level, and then we'll talk.
Well, then there's the above and below waist divide, but we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, the straight women who are like, have they really
who dabble?
Why is it dabbling? Why is it thus? Is it like doing is it dabbling if you try the
I think there's a difference. I think there's a difference between straight women who dabble within a very heteronormative
I like to call that lesbian blackface.
Yeah, so we agree. You would agree. I'm going to say that the 3 times thing, I'm going to take that rule.
My contribution to the queer world.
Well, so many contributions, but one of the best. All right. I will see you next week.
It's good to see you.
You too. Shalom.
Bye. So I'm looking forward to my upcoming conversation with Faith Soloway. We will, a writer on Transparent, we will settle some of our questions. Katie, we'll get back to you once we have that. Yeah.
Very excited to hear this conversation you had with
Inside. We're going to get inside
Faith
stuff.
Soloway. Inside Transparent. Intra-transparent.
And we're gonna probably stay with Transparent. There's endless amounts of things to see there. It's fantastic. We recommend you check it out on Amazon. Have a lovely week. I'll see you later.
See you later.